Hello and welcome everyone to yet another SSCAIT report. I'll be your host, Choboswaggins aka Jealous on Team Liquid, and today we will again be continuing our coverage of this year's SSCAIT elimination bracket. As a quick review, last weekend we saw Beta Star and Stardust emerge victorious against Xiaoyi COG and Willy T respectively, thus leaving us with only the top 6 seeded AI in contention for this year's trophy. After that, in two close sets, Purple Wave edged out Beta Star, and Stardust came out on top of Banana Brain in a 2-1 sets. Today we'll be casting losers. Whoa, 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 whoa. Calm down. We'll be casting losers round 5 and 6, where the two remaining Protoss AI, Purple Wave and Stardust, will face off for their chance to fight number 1 seed Krazio to win the losers bracket. Tomorrow, on Sunday, March 5th, in GMT, Nightcat and I will be casting together the finals between Monster and the winner of the losers bracket. Monster, of course, being the AI who conquered the side of the winners bracket. We hope to see you then, but for now, let's dive into the games. Starting off on Icarus at the 6 o'clock position, we have. Oh, sorry. 11 o'clock position, we have Stardust as the orange Protoss, facing up against Purple Wave in a best of 3. The teal Protoss located at around 8 or 9 o'clock. So, both AI, of course, at the top of their game right now. Purple Wave in particular has been making some tremendous strides. Interesting first pylon placement here, to be honest with you. I would not normally expect the first pylon to be here. Gateways from back here have trouble sending units forward, but it might be a safety feature. As something that was told to me a while ago is the fact that AIs would often place their gateways in the back because that ensured that they would be able to come up in time in order to produce the zealot. But either way, looking like it's going to be standard opener for a Purple Wave gateway into gas. So far, only one gateway from Stardust, a gateway pylon. It's similar to the builds that we've been seeing thus far from this AI. Normally, you would expect to see gateway gas cybernetics core, but in this case, Stardust opening with a zealot. Zealot openers are generally considered to be safer in PvP because you don't rely on if your enemy went for two gateways, you don't have to rely purely on Dragoon Micro with a lower number of Dragoons. But in this case, the Purple Wave's approach of gateway Cyber Zealot, I believe it was, is the better approach here, you could say. Definitely going to get that tech earlier, going to get that range upgrade earlier, which is so crucial in PvP. Purple Wave's probe here, keeping tabs on Stardust's ramp, seeing the two Zealots standing stalwart and not engaging. It seems the probe for Stardust did go down in the meantime, although it should be noted that Stardust is also ahead in workers, possibly due to the pylon gateway pylon opening, not having to cut probes as frequently as Purple Wave has. And it's going to be Stardust who's going to be the first one to be aggressive. The probe runs home, but two Dragoons and one Zealot on top of the ramp should be enough to hold this back. Zealot even gets a nice shot in on the Dragoon here. Now that with the three Dragoons on the high ground, it's going to be very difficult for Stardust to bust up, even with a superior number of Zealots to soak up the hits. Taking extra hits from the high ground is also not working in Stardust's favor. Now that Purple Wave has three Dragoons and one Zealot, it thought that it could be aggressive here, but Stardust actually is matching the Dragoon count and actually now exceeding it. That is off the back of the 4 gateway opener. In the meantime, we do see cannons being placed by both players. I guess Purple Wave assumed that it could be DT. I can't think of another reason, and wow, Purple Wave got completely caught off guard there. But at the same time, the DTs come out, and it seems that Stardust has sensed this, and the DTs are going to push back Stardust, so the cannon choice from Stardust was indeed correct. The cannons on the ramp will protect the base. However, there's a robotics facility already on the way. Cannon has spotted the Dark Templar. The Dark Templar are not able to engage. Off of this, Purple Wave is going to take the Nexus. However, the overall army count is very low, so you have to be concerned about what happens once the observers come out. The amount of Dragoons here is incredible. Dark Templar lose a lot of their efficacy once the observer is out, and the observatory is already on the way. Purple Wave, rushing to catch up on production facilities, has now added 3 gateways of their own for a total of 5. The 2 base economy might be able to hit just in time to produce 1 wave out of all 5 gateways here. However, it should also be noted that Purple Wave, I mean, has not produced extra probes in the transition process. Normally, you want to have extra probes in order to transfer to the Nexus once it's done. There are going to be some probes transferred over, but it's still not going to be the doubling of economy that you might expect from two Nexuses. And now Stardust with an Observer is ready to start moving out, hugging the wall and waiting for Observer sight. Probably it seems to move forward, but the Observer is actually staying back here. I'm not sure about this decision. The Dark Templar are also not anywhere to be found in terms of engagements, and it's going to come down to who will get the better exchange here with straight up Dragoon's mass. The concave from Purple Wave is almost ideal here. I'm not quite sure about this pylon placement. The DTs now seem to have caught on to the fact that the army is here, and they have started chopping away at the enemy, taking down some shields, but the observers, they seem not so eager to engage. After being in a very dangerous position earlier in the game, Purple Wave is coming out ahead economically. This DT keeping tabs on the expansion. Observers might be able to see that DT, and now the Dragoons should be able to engage with them. DTs clearly are a menace to deal with in this matchup. It's very difficult, I'm guessing, to program the logic for Observer sees DT, send army there to hit DT. Observers stay watching the DT or something similar of that nature. And now it's actually Purple Wave who's going to start coming forward. No need for observers for them. They do not suspect that any DT will be coming out of Stardust based on this opener, and that is indeed the case. We do have a very heavy Dragoon army here for the Orange Protoss player. I mean, to be fair, both players are very heavy on Dragoons. It seems to be the best unit in AI world right now, or among them at least. And I think I have to sneeze, so give me a second. Of course, as soon as you say you have to sneeze, the sneeze will never come. So I should have known better. I should have just pushed through the pain. But it's all good. So far, more gateways being added. Do we see a third base yet? No. And the minerals should be starting to run quite low for Stardust in the main base. Purple Wave exceeding the supply by a significant margin now, but the high ground is still proving difficult to penetrate, especially with the cannons and Dragoons on the high ground having a greater accuracy than the Dragoons on the low ground. Zealots now, though, are going to start streaming up the ramp. They do have speed, it seems, and that is going to grant valuable vision and allow for some soaking of damage while Dragoons on the low ground add extra shots. The Nexus is being placed boldly, as is the modus operandi for Stardust, it seems, but the DT is there to take a few swipes at it. The Dragoons are also there. Interesting that the Nexus is being allowed to come up. The observers are well aware of the DT's presence, and it seems that DT is aware of the observer's presence based on how they're dancing together. But so far, it seems that Purple Wave is going to emerge ahead of Stardust. Stardust, of course, having been the strongest AI for the past several years. Nice storms on the ramp as well, where it's all congested with Dragoons here. Storm Addition is very useful in PvP, especially against Dragoon mass. But yeah, so Stardust has been one of the forefront Protosses of the competitive scene for several years now, and despite some notable losses more recently, I believe to Banana Brain, for example, it seems that Purple Wave is now emerging as yet again a top-notch competitor. Not that it never, not that it wasn't in the past, but now being able to face Stardust on this level and to have such a seemingly comprehensive response to Stardust's mass Dragoon play, even adding a shuttle in order to do some Templar drops, it seems. Let's track that shuttle and see where it goes. It is taking a couple shots from cannon fire. There are probes in the main base, but they're all idle because there's no more money here for Stardust, and I think that this is the beginning of the end for Stardust, unfortunately. Committing so heavily into Dragoons early on and then being forced to retreat as a result of the Dark Templar, barely getting the cannon up in time, kind of put Purple Wave in a really strong position. And I'm thinking that maybe if there was less of a commitment to Dragoons early on, earlier robotics facility, and if the Observer and Army movement was a bit more cohesive, then Purple Wave could have been in a world of hurt. However, given the fact that, as I said before, it seems that Observer and Army control against potential Dark Templars is a difficult situation to be in. Even for human players, it can be quite intimidating to move out with knowing that there's DTs running around on the map. I think that has led to a victory here for Purple Wave, and I don't think there's not much of a chance here for Stardust with no economy, so I'm going to speed it up now. We're going to see how this battle plays out. I mean, Purple Wave still isn't maxed and doesn't have. All right, well now it is. Just as I say that, interestingly enough, was not banking up all that many resources. It just shows how strong the high ground can be as a defensive option. But now, with that storm and the forced retreat of dragoons, the flood of Purple Wave units are going to enter Stardust base, and there's not much left to say here. This game is over. Let's move on to the next. And I'm going to slow it down. We're spawning on Python, a much, I think the word is maligned. No. Yeah, it's a map that people are not big fans of anymore nowadays, even though it does obviously have a strong history in the Brood War competitive scene. We have Purple Wave spawning as the Brown Protoss in the 12 o'clock position on Python, placing a pylon forward this time as opposed to back. And we have Stardust placing a pylon by the Nexus, spawning at the 8 or 9 o'clock position. Standing at first scout quite early, is going to find Purple Wave first. I'm wondering if Purple Wave's logic will instruct it that this means that the opponent is most likely in a near position. Maybe that's too broad. Okay, we're scouting center to check for proxy gateways. Interesting. I would definitely check here as well, though. I think that this is one of the most favorite spots for proxies. Is going to scout the other near position, and unfortunately there is not going to be an enemy there. Now is probably going to cross scout, I'm guessing. And that way is going to determine the fact that Stardust is indeed there. But Stardust already ahead in terms of the information gathering game, and it seems it either has adapted or changed its build in order to go for a Cybernetics core first here. Purple Wave already though has their Cybernetics core up before Stardust, but if you notice that does the difference in their builds does manifest in a worker disparity that benefits Stardust. However, that is not everything, as we learned in the last game. Stardust probe now actually in the main base of Purple Wave unable to catch it, and the probe from Stardust just gives up. Compare that to the behavior of Purple Wave's probe, which ran away and ran all the way home last game. But anyway, we are again going to see 2 Gateway Dragoon with range from Stardust, and we are seeing a Citadel, and I think that he even skipped range. Yes, indeed. That's something that you can sometimes test with your units. If you suspect that a DT opener is coming, you can push up the ramp with your units and see if the Dragoons hit, what range the Dragoons hit you from, and that could be indicative of the fact that it might be a fast Templar play. So the DT is on the way. 3 gateways now for Stardust and no robotics facility in sight. The timing on this is kind of crucial here. We are seeing a Forge from Stardust, so Stardust is aware of this weakness. A Forge from Purple Wave as well in case the enemy is going for Dark Templar. Placing a pylon kind of aggressively forward, which is to kind of be expected given the fact that you suspect that you're going to expand soon, and the probe is forced back. Again, a very similar situation to last time where the Protoss army from Purple Wave was pushed back and taking significant losses, but Stardust now forced to retreat as a result of the Dark Templar being placed there. The cannon on the high ground, it would have been awesome to see if maybe cannons on the low ground would have been an option that would help secure the Nexus position even better. DT are going to become aware of this cannon and run away, and wow, the first one gets sniped immediately, so there's now only 1 DT on the map. That is a departure from last game. 1 DT, of course, less scary, but still something that needs to be reckoned with using observers and robotics facilities. I'm wondering if the creator of Purple Wave noticed this weakness of Stardust and in their control of observers, and that is why they've been opting for these Dark Templar strategies. It is certainly proving to be effective here. It seems that, nope, that is the same Dark Templar being used defensively here in expectation of a potential observer. First observer is on the way. Again, the idle probe situation from Stardust that we've been seeing in several games. I'm kind of curious about that. I don't think it could actually be more efficient. I see 4 or 5 idle probes out of 27. I don't think that this is maximum efficiency on the economy. Maybe they are. Maybe it is actually optimal, and they're just waiting for a new Nexus to be built. Observer has checked out the natural and seen that there's no enemy here. Dragoons are going to march forward again without the observer. I'm not sure if that is the advisable play, but there's actually still only 1 DT, and ooh, Stardust decides to back away from a fight that it probably could have won there. Still nothing threatening the natural, so I'm surprised that they ran all the way back up the ramp. And Purple Wave is finding themselves again in a advantageous position in this series. Some of the Dragoons do seem to be bugged out though. Maybe it's because of the pylon placement here. The tech is in an awkward position as well. So the fact that the army is split up is potentially a source of worry here, because these engagements that Purple Wave in theory could be winning if the whole army was here are now going to be kind of bad for Purple Wave, and this could be an upset as a result of the fact that the building placement is messing with the Dragoons here. Something we have seen in human play, and now seeing it in AI play as well. It's really unfortunate to see that. The DT is out here though. It gets finally sniped, so now Stardust's army superiority, 52 to 42, should actually manifest in some decisive advantages maybe, despite the fact that it has a later Nexus. It is going for a double expand, and Purple Wave now has forced to fall back. Does have a great concave, but with only half the army there, you have to wonder how long this hold can last. The Dragoons trapped here are not going to be able to contribute. This natural Nexus may fall, and this could be just, oh, finally a couple of Dragoons trickle out, but not enough. The natural will fall here, and it looks like Stardust is going to take game 2 now. I mean, someone mentioned in the comments how I'm being very cavalier with calling these games given how often AI bug out, and of course we did see that here, so fair point. But with so much army in the natural and army still being trapped in the back of Purple Wave's base, you have to feel that a 3-base economy is going to be able to beat out a 1-base economy with half the gateways trapped, even if Storm plays a factor in. We already see the fact that there's almost no army at the front for Purple Wave. Zealots are coming out, but they're in too few of a number to make a difference here, I think. They are going to take down some of the Dragoons, to be fair. And Purple Wave has been slow to add reinforcements. Maybe a little bit of a inefficiency there as well. Perfect Storm on the Dragoons, but the Dragoons split away from it. And yeah, Purple Wave is in a rough spot here. 2 observers have rejoined the army now, but yeah, again, 3 bases, getting upgrades, and Purple Wave's trapped on one base economy with a dwindling mineral count, half the supply. It seems that this is going to be possibly the end of Purple Wave's game here. Still holding on barely. If the Nexus does come up, there might be a continued effort to collect resources, but given the amount of bases that Stardust has now, generally speaking in PvP, if you manage to take more bases and you survive to do long enough to do so and benefit from them, you are generally ahead and going to be advantaged. That's generally true for mirror matches in general, though. Obviously, superior economy, superior production, and therefore greater chances to win. The Nexus is eventually cancelled. Purple Wave on the last few minerals is going to start long distance mining here. The probes are going to start getting picked off by the Dragoons. The observers are again nowhere in sight. This DT seemingly saving the day yet again. But Stardust is on a 4-base economy, so perhaps saving the day is a bit of an exaggeration, especially now that the 5th base is coming up and there's not enough money for a Nexus. So, gotta feel bad for Purple Wave there. Unfortunate gateway placement here. Might have to question the decision to... Ooh, okay, DT got a bunch of kills there. Didn't notice that. Anyway, might have to question if there should be some sort of logic for the army to think, is the whole army here? And if no, then probably do not engage or send new commands for army to go there. But it seems like commands are being set. They're just, they're just not figuring out the pathing. And it is admittedly somewhat serpentine. I'm actually not 100% sure if they can fit through here even. But yeah, trying to get up the money in order to get a Nexus is Purple Wave. But unfortunately, this big blob of Dragoons is most likely going to spell the end for Purple Wave here. And it's going to be a 1-to-1 series, and we're going to go into the decider game. But a speed up here. Poor Purple Wave just got the money to get a Nexus. Now lost all of his probes. Now has no army, and it is effectively GG. Let's move on to the next game. Spawning at the 6 o'clock position on destination is Stardust. And at the 12 o'clock position is Purple Wave as the Peach Protoss, Green Protoss for Stardust. And yeah, this is the deciding game. This is going to be the determining factor for who goes on to see Krasio in the finals of the loser's bracket. And I know that both authors are going to be eager to win this match. Being the #1 ranked Protoss in a tournament is a prestigious title, especially given how dominant Protoss has been over the past few years, with the exception, of course, of Monster and more recently Krasio getting first seed in this tournament. So let's look at the builds. Purple Wave going for a forward gateway this time, closer to the ramp, and then straight into a gas. I'm expecting Stardust to do gateway pylon, and again, it's going to be later on the gas, but probably with a higher worker count as a result of this. So yep, here's where we're going to see the second pylon. Again, this is a build that you almost never see from the player side of things. build is considered somewhat inefficient, but it does generate more workers, and so therefore might be favored here. Interesting choice from Purple Wave to add a Zealot in this case. Usually on two-player maps, you are able to determine that it's not going to be a two-gateway earlier. However, one of the advantages of Purple Wave's build is that they scout later than their opponent, so therefore the fact that the enemy is one probe ahead is probably counterbalanced by the fact that Purple Wave has scouted later. Cybernetics core is up, second gateway coming up for Stardust. No surprises there. Stardust, well known for their Dragoon armies. In the meantime, it seems that due to the lack of range, we can determine that it is going to be a Citadel. And I'm curious if Purple Wave waited for the probe to die in order to place that Citadel, because Purple Wave was floating a lot of minerals and gas, so that does delay the Dark Templar timing, which is a bit troubling because we've seen how much army Purple Wave loses to Stardust to the three Gateway Dragoon timing or four Gateway Dragoon timing. Even with a ramp here, it's going to be somewhat difficult to hold. I mean, 3 Dragoons against 3 Dragoons, obviously the Dragoons are going to go hold, but keep in mind, again, there is no range. And I'm not sure about this move out choice. I mean, the bridge is going to create a funnel here, which is good. The Zealot is preventing great micro from the Dragoons here, so it might actually backfire standing on these bridges. It opens the possibility of you getting picked off piecemeal. Purple Wave so far has not been successful in being able to establish this natural against Stardust, so I'm surprised that he's continuing to try and lost so many Dragoons without doing actually any damage. But the first Dark Templar is out. Hopefully this Nexus will be able to stay up for Purple Wave. No, the Nexus is cancelled. A new one has to be placed. Automatically lost a lot of money on that. And no new Nexus is going to be placed here. I mean, 3 gateways got thrown down instead of the Nexus, so the economic advantage that Purple Wave has been relying on after these Dark Templar builds is gone. First cannon finishes just in time on the ramp, so great timing there. And again, the first DT goes down. Second one is on higher HP though. And again, the robotics facility is placed by Stardust, so this is the advantage of this build. You can actually block the ramp with your Dragoons if you're waiting on detection. It's okay to sacrifice a few, but look at Purple Wave. I think he's confused because of the lack of the Nexus, adding the gateways and now pumping 5 Dragoons at a time, but without the economy advantage that it had in the previous games. And the Dark Templar, it seems, is, I don't know where it went. Hopefully it didn't pass away in the cannon fire somehow, because that Dark Templar in previous games was crucial for controlling the natural base of Stardust and forcing the Dragoons and Observers into some weird decisions. So I'm curious to see where that Dark Templar is, but it seems like the lack of a Nexus is making Purple Wave a little buggy, and now the Dragoons are going to start moving forward. And again, just need to make it clear, I mean, this Nexus is going to go up uncontested due to the lack of Dark Templar presence here. The Dragoon army, despite not having the Observer with it, and advancing in a very erratic pattern, is going to be superior to Purple Wave. So you have to feel that something went wrong here for Purple Wave, just now throwing down the Nexus on top of Dragoon production. Here's that Dark Templar again, but where was he before? I mean, I guess he's trying to control this third base, but the Nexus did get canceled. Okay. Alright, we're probably going to have to slow down here because I'm not catching everything. So the Dark Templar, I'm guessing, ran into the natural, swiped at the Nexus. This forced the cancellation. This forced the Dragoons to retreat. Purple Wave behind this is going to get the expansion up, is now going to start trying to apply pressure with Dragoons, but it does have the inferior army here. And this Dark Templar, it seems, is just patrolling the key expansion areas for Stardust here. I think that might be why I was missing in action, and I couldn't find it earlier. But again, these bridges are forcing some awkward engagements for the defender because of the fact that they seem to be more willing to enter the bridge. Both Purple Wave and Stardust have done this. Stardust now, though, has retreated a little bit further back, is going to pick off a Dragoon and a Zealot in exchange. And if Purple Wave can maintain this kind of pressure, might be able to out-expand against Stardust, because Stardust now is falling into a similar hole that Purple Wave did. Because of the cancelled Nexus, it's actually floating a lot of money now, and it's not placing a new Nexus, sending a third probe. The third probe gets sniped by the DT. The DT is playing a crucial role now, finally finding some success. The Observers are tracking it, though. The Dragoons are moving out, but the concaves from Purple Wave are better. The army count from Stardust, even though right now it seems lower, it seems that there's more Dragoons here at the front. It's a very close battle. Will will the creature play a role here? I thought there was supposed to be Panda Bear guy. There he is. And no, okay, Stardust does manage to force back Purple Wave here, and the Observers are tracking that DT. Now it's Purple Wave's turn to be engaging awkwardly on these bridges. Would not be advisable here. Purple Wave is on two bases finally. No third base in sight. Finally, a third base here from Stardust, and a Dragoon here finding that is going to be annoying, is going to start applying pressure. Let's see how the engagement's going though. Purple Wave did find a good concave on the other side of this bridge in this all-important deciding game. Stardust forced to retreat. I mean, the Dragoon here may have applied some pressure that I wasn't expecting. It did have to send two Dragoons to handle one. So small edgewise advantages for Purple Wave so far. Again, that Nexus has not come up back in the natural. Clearly some bugs on Stardust's side. It's definitely uncharacteristic in my opinion. I do not recall Stardust of yesteryear doing this, but as far as based on my exposure to the AI community over the past few years, my understanding is like you fix one thing, it breaks two things. That can definitely sometimes happen, and Stardust may be suffering from the results of that. Dragoon battle continuing here, and that's another interesting thing to discuss after I try to sneeze again. God damn it. Okay, so no sneezes today. Anyway, different AI have different Dragoon micro logic, and it's interesting to see that even if on the surface they might look similar, they have different prioritizations. For example, if I recall correctly, one AI wants to never waste a shot, so they always split the amount of damage that they do between different targets. The other one, I think, does something like always wants to attack the nearest target, so it gets most of the as much damage done as possible, or something like that. Like, so different approaches, resulting in this incredible 30,000 APM dance that we're seeing here. And Stardust seems to have fallen back to the natural yet again, the lack of a Nexus, again proving difficult to handle. Hasn't mined out even these minerals here, so if the probe transfer is to come in, it would have to go through the contested area of the map here. And now Purple Wave, using the fact that it has a position on this stranglehold of bridges, is using that opportunity to not only take a third base, but also apply pressure to Stardust only remaining base. And after looking like it was the situation was kind of dire for Purple Wave, down an army, not able to place a Nexus, producing from 5 gateways despite not having the economy. Purple Wave, it seems, has made a full comeback here on the back of that one DT, sniping or denying this one Nexus, and Stardust having to retreat at a crucial moment. It's really just a hair's breadth that made the decision here, and this DT is going to help chop down this Nexus even faster. Stardust is running low on minerals inside their main base, and I think that the outcome is becoming more and more clear. Again, obviously, as the commenter on the other YouTube said, I was being a bit cavalier in my announcements. I definitely thought that Purple Wave was going to lose this game at the start, but given what we've seen since then, at any point an AI might make a mistake, and that is what we're seeing here. The lack of a Nexus proving to be likely fatal for Stardust, as the last minerals are dwindling from the main base. I think we can speed it back up now. It's only a matter of time before Purple Wave starts pushing this in. 74 army against 51. Income versus no income, and no probes in sight to place a new Nexus. Only the defensive advantage of high ground keeping Stardust in this game. And Purple Wave, I mean, advancing to face Krasio now, that's going to be the all-important question, is how is Purple Wave going to fight up against the number 1 seed from the round robin stage. Number 1 seed doesn't happen by accident. It's going to be interesting to see what approaches Purple Wave has to PvT, and how Krasio deals with Purple Wave. Krasio, of course, has been a mainstay in the community for quite some time as well, having AI of different races. I believe last year I think it was last year that they fielded Krasio P. This year returning to Terran, which is at least the AI that I most associate with Krasio. Anyway, Templar back out here again, going to be storming the defensive Dragoons. The defensive Dragoons can't be replaced anymore, so slowly but surely, as Purple Wave continues long distance mining here, and even adds a Nexus here, this is going to get broken eventually, and I'm just going to speed it up, look at the ramp, and have a sip. And that's all she wrote. A former winner of the SSCAIT is eliminated in the losers bracket. the penultimate round, and Purple Wave is the last remaining Protoss in the tournament, making a statement here, with a bit of luck, a little bit of luck, of course, but a little bit of obviously luck going against them. So, in the end, the AI who made the fewest mistakes, or at least the least damaging mistakes, seems to have emerged victorious. So, looking into our bracket here, Purple Wave 2-1 against Stardust. And it should be noted that all of the PvPs in this Losers Round 4, Losers Round 5 have all been 2-1s. Very indicative of the fact that all of these AI are fairly close to one another in skill. And it's just those edge scenarios that really um, push the game one way or another. But without further ado, we now have our Losers Round finalists, Krasio and Purple Wave. Let's take a look at how they played this out. This is going to be Jade. Almost said Luna. Jade is a map which I discussed in previous broadcasts. It's unique in the fact that it is a reverse ramp, otherwise quite similar to maps like Fighting Spirit and Circuit Breakers in terms of base layout. We have Purple Wave spawning at the top right of Jade as the teal Protoss, placing a forward pylon. Well, not forward, but closer to the ramp. And we have Krasio spawning as the white Terran in the top left. So, just to quickly rehash some points I made about this map in previous broadcasts. Generally speaking, Terrans are going to struggle to wall in the low ground here because Dragoons can shoot from up top. Obviously, shooting uphill is difficult, so taking an expansion is difficult. Taking high ground control in the natural is often the name of the game in human play, and it should be so in AI play as well. Krasio completely ignores the walling aspect of walling potential of this map and doesn't try to wall off here as well. This is actually a fairly good wall off, even though the Marines spawn to the front of the barracks. You could place barracks, depot. We are seeing a bunker instead now. It seems that Purple Wave, though, instead of going aggressive, has chosen to take a Nexus. So it looks like Zealot Expand is the play here. An additional pylon being placed. The bunker is going to be an effective deterrent against the Zealots. The Zealots can run past, but do remember that because of the inhuman control of these AI, even just two Marines can micro against the Zealot and micro it to death possibly. You would have to put some pretty intense logic into the Zealot in order to know when to run by, and then also how to behave once it arrives in the base. You would have to target SCVs, and of course, again, inhuman micro. The SCVs probably stack up and do damage, and confuse the Zealots. So possibly the right choice here is to stay outside the base. First Vulture coming out of the factory. Vultures, of course, able to kite Zealots even better than Marines, even in especially in human hands, but in AI hands just as much. As you can see here, the Zealots are probably never going to even get a chance to attack this Vulture, and taking a couple extra shots from the bunker as well as lowering their life expectancy here. We do have our first Dragoon coming out on across the map. Do we have range? It's on the way. Important upgrade to have, and I'm surprised that the Dragoon is being aggressive, but the longer that these Vultures stay here, the more safe your economy is, and the more time you have to get that range upgrade, to get that robotics facility, to get that observatory up, after opening with a greedy play with Nexus first, or at least Zealot Nexus. Generally speaking, that is considered to be a fairly greedy play. Krasio is going to expand behind this. I like this decision. It knows that it's only seen Zealots so far. It knows that like the first Dragoon that's coming out hasn't even engaged yet. So I think it identified the window that it is safe for it to expand even without siege mode or mines being out on the map yet. As they take out another Zealot. Dragoon now with range probably going to start trying to chase down these Vultures. The Vulture staying just out of range of the Dragoon. Dragoon not wanting to give up this real estate here and allow a Vulture to possibly sneak by and start sniping probes. So very high level stuff already seen here. Very similar to human play, it should be noted. Although Zealot Nexus is not that common in human play, it is still something that we do see. It's often a response to aggressive play. And did I just see that? Hold up. Did I just see that Vulture go backwards? Hold on. I'm going to try to rewind a little bit. I'm pretty sure I saw that Vulture just go like moonwalk backwards. I want to know how you do that, Micro. Let's see. I'm going to speed it up a little bit just to get there. I think it's coming up soon. Let's see. Yeah, nice. That's funny. All right. I've seen that rarely, and I've seen it in other RTS games, but I don't think I've ever seen it with a vulture in quite a situation like that. So, something new for everyone in every game when it comes to AI, I think. So Command Center is almost done. Of course, the Nexus from Purple Wave has been up and running for quite a while. I like the fact that I like to note that Krasio has gone up to 30 workers before the Command Center is even up. So that allows them to transfer more workers and take more advantage of the economic position that they're taking. Siege tanks here are going to be able to hold the Dragoons off. Not much army coming forward from Purple Wave. In fact, only 8 armies. So I'm actually kind of concerned because it doesn't seem like there's been consistent production. But maybe these gateways just came up. We do see pretty consistent production now. No third base either, but it seems that that is in the cards. Meanwhile, an armory being placed by Krasio has an academy, but has not added the comsat stations. It should be noted, likely because it is confident in the fact that there are no units that require detection. Oftentimes, the comsat station, of course, used to see what the enemy's plan is, but in this case, prioritizing SCV production right up until the moment when it is time to add the comsat station. So, nice play so far, economically oriented. This barracks was proving a tempting target for Dragoons, but Dragoons have already taken quite significant damage, and that is always a risk. That is something that you cannot underestimate, is the fact that if your units, which are expensive and big and bulky, and you rely on having just 7 of them or 8 of them to defend against the push, if half of them are at half health, that is not a great place to be. Yes, the health regenerates, but what are you gaining by applying pressure here? I guess maybe you're forcing some siege, re-siege, slowing down the push. That is something to consider. We have actually a scouting engineering bay instead of a scouting what's called the scouting comsat scan. But yeah, moves like these don't produce any benefit for Purple Wave, and I'm very concerned when Dragoons are so cavalier about making that kind of approach. It's going to take another shot here. Yep, you see this? This is not what you want to see from your Protoss Dragoons. Long distance mining, actually, in the meantime, no Nexus yet. Stargate is coming up. What is this? This is another Stargate, so Engineering Bay should be aware of this, should understand now that the possibility of carriers is coming. Turrets are being added. This turret placement is definitely not ideal for carriers. Normally you would want them on the perimeter of your base, maybe like in blocks of like 4, 4, in order to buy time for you to get that Goliath mass. But it seems that Purple Wave now, since it's getting to the point of starting to produce carriers soon, has already determined that the best course of action here is most likely just to fall back. This high ground is difficult to push, but what I would have loved to see actually is for Purple Wave not to necessarily keep pressuring here, but to stay dancing. You want to slow down that Terran push by, like, forcing them to siege up here, and then forcing them to siege up here, forcing them to siege up here, using the high ground. Making the Terran push slower is one of the goals of you as a Protoss player or a Protoss AI. But in this case, given the fact that Krasio, as far as my memory tells me, often stays on perhaps too few production facilities. If I was in Krasio's shoes here, I would probably cut the production of everything, cut almost everything, and just throw down like 6 factories and start pumping Goliaths, because the carriers are coming, and there's 3 of them coming at a time. Very often you'll see maybe 1 or 2 Stargates, especially just off of 2 or 3 bases, but in this case, 3 Stargates right off the bat. Third base is up for Purple Wave, by the way. Was long distance mining for a while from here, but chose to take this base instead. Still doing some long distance mining here, which is funny. Mines are aware of that. And the Goliath count continues to rise, but is it fast enough? If you're pumping Goliaths from 3 factories, I don't think that you will be able to rival 3 Stargate production with some army support as well. Some annoying vultures out on the map, though. They are harassing the Zealot a little bit. The Dragoons should be there to help their friend out. I would have liked to maybe see the vultures instead coming down this way. Good mine placements here to block the other mains. That is something that is more annoying to deal with than it is to do, I'm guessing. So in both human play and AI play, so that is a good decision. But Krasio, one thing that should be noted, though, is that Krasio is already on the way to +2 attack upgrades. +1 armor is almost in as well. So a definite upgrade advantage to Krasio, but +1 air already in for Purple Wave as well. So it's really interesting to note how this game in particular is looking so much like an actual human human Protoss versus human Terran. Very similar decisions. obviously inhuman control, but the meta, I guess, seems to have shifted to being more and more similar to pro level play, and that makes sense. I mean, the combined, you know, thousands, millions of man hours that have been invested in StarCraft and figuring out the game by paid professionals. It's clear that they were onto something, right? And now we're seeing that the AI world is catching up to that as well, making some maybe in a different way, but having arrived at a similar spot. I'm curious to see. Yes, we do have the carrier range upgrade. We're getting the observer sight upgrade. I'm not sure how valuable that is, to be quite honest with you. Uh, Mines are, of course, an issue here, and you do want ground support for your carriers. But I'm not sure if Observer Sight is where you want to be putting in your limited resources until you get to 200, 200. Maybe after 200, 200, you can start investing in other things. 2 armor on the way, also for Krasio. 2 attack on the way for Purple Wave. And no additional research from anyone. Looking at the army composition here, I mean, 11 Goliaths is quite a lot. I'm surprised that we haven't seen more consistent carrier production here, and the you never want to be coming out with one interceptor at a time, because that's what happens. You definitely want to be using all of your interceptors at once, but the carrier is being manually targeted, and that's going to be a dangerous spot to be in. That carrier needs to be pulled back. Finally, more interceptors are coming out, but ooh, way too far forward there, and the repairs on the turret are actually preventing any damage from being done. So Purple Wave is just effectively hemorrhaging interceptors, even flying within turret range with the carrier. So yeah, much left to be desired there in terms of carrier control. Definitely needs to take advantage of leashing, I think. Leashing allows you to have your interceptors out at all times while flying around like this. That means that when you do attack a target, all of the interceptors attack at once. It also allows you to attack from greater range if you do the proper micro inputs. There are guides on it. It's called leashing or leash micro. Definitely recommend that any AI authors or players look into that. So yeah, that's more of the expected behavior more of the desired behavior, rather, I should say. Not this sending out 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 interceptors to their death, but more of sending out big clumps all at once. And definitely keeping the injured carriers behind the healthy ones, definitely using the army to support. Again, I think this is very similar to what happened with the Dragoon scenario earlier. Purple Wave pushing in and in and in and slowly getting whittled down little by little by little, and we notice that Purple Wave supply is not really climbing, whereas Krasio's is slowly but surely, despite the fact that they're on less production, is starting to catch up. Even got this third base up for free. I would have loved to see maybe an army, the ground army, engage with that, because what is the ground army doing in this position? And Krasio slowly but surely claiming more real estate on the map, despite the fact that Purple Wave does have more bases. And yeah, this is an interesting placement, huh? I'm guessing it prioritized gas gathering here. Did clear out the mine, by the way. But let's go back to the engagements. I'm not seeing the carrier count ever really climb. Like, you want to be at that critical number. Some people say it's 5. I've heard 4. I've heard 6. I think that 5 or 6 is probably the number you want to be at. But looking at the army count, I mean, we have 16 Goliaths now. You can't win this with just one carrier now, and especially not when they have been trading so cost ineffectively. In fact, I'm not sure where the money is going into. It must be being all drained into interceptors, and that's why we're not seeing consistent production of army. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing 4 carriers added now, which is definitely going to put a strain, and 4 gateways as well. But the production doesn't seem consistent. I don't see a lot of army being produced. 2 Dragoons, 3 carriers, that's not going to be enough to stop this. I'm really concerned now for Purple Wave. Everything was going swimmingly up until this point, but now on equal supply, it's Terran with an upgrade advantage. Even with storms that are as good as those, you would expect that the Terran should be advantaged here. Terran is even now expanding to the other side of the map. We're going to see a split map scenario, it seems. And I mean, the push has not been slowed down significantly at any point as soon as it started. And unfortunately, I think that it's because of the interceptors and the way the carriers were behaving. It's because of those Dragoon losses here. You notice how 10 Dragoons died there without doing any damage. That is clearly something that still needs to be hashed out in terms of engagements, I think. That seems to be the major weakness that I've seen so far from Purple Wave's approach. But as far as Krasio, of course, production is limited, but you don't need production when you play so safely, when you push so slowly. But I do feel that a more experienced Protoss player, at least, would have found that critical timing, would have made the critical decisions that would have punished such defensive play. For example, denying this third base. For example, being better with the carrier micro in terms of sniping army. But either way, it should be said, I mean, Krasio, number one seed, maxed out, sitting inside the Terran, the Protoss natural. I just don't see what Purple Wave can do now that Purple Wave hasn't already tried up until this point. Yeah, so stacked units getting stormed, of course, is the dream scenario for Purple Wave. That would be one of the ways that a comeback could be reached. But, I mean, it also should be noted that more likely than not, the Goliath micro from Krasio is probably better than humans in the sense that they probably just all target one interceptor and therefore snipe interceptors more effectively and therefore cost the Protoss more minerals, therefore limiting their production. And oh, you just want to see a storm on the yes, juicy storms, more juicy storms. Definitely lacking EMP as Krasio. That's one thing that could be improved upon here. Um, Losing this base isn't too big of a deal for Purple Wave, to be honest with you. There's not much money left here, but having the production be trapped behind this army on the low ground is going to be a problem. And of course, losing these bases is going to be an even bigger problem. So fantastic work from Krasio to split the army up, leaving just enough here in order to establish a position, even adding turrets, sending SCVs, doing repairs. Amazing stuff from Krasio. This is stuff that humans can't do while pushing also on the other side. So fantastic play from Krasio. It must be said, can't take anything away from them just because of small inefficiencies by Purple Wave. Krasio is playing fantastic, and the number one seed is well earned. But yeah, so now that Purple Wave is the one with no economy, I think we all know where this is headed. So fortunately, I'm going to move on to the next game, make the authoritative decision here. Purple Wave spawning at the top right of La Mancha, which is another map that is similar to Fighting Spirit, this time without the reverse ramp shenanigans, but a slightly more open third base and possibly a fourth base for some people in some positions. Krasio, though, spawning as the blue Terran in the top left of La Mancha. So interesting point here. I believe that this rotational symmetry and the spawns in this case in particular definitely do benefit Krasio. The reason why is because you can slow tank push your way to taking a third base this way, while leaving enough of a defensive force here. And that way you can prevent the Protoss from expanding to your side. You secure your third base. Generally speaking, on other maps, having the Terran third be closer to the Protoss it can go both ways. It's like a double-edged sword. But on this map in particular, I think that it is an advantageous position for the Terran player. It's going to make it easier to push into the natural of the Protoss player. It's going to be a place where you can add defensive turrets to limit aerial maneuverability. And I generally think that this is going to be beneficial for Terran on this map, in this position specifically. For Protoss, is going to be able to take their own natural third, is going to have pretty easy access to the bottom right main. Terran is going to have a hard time pushing that, so there are advantageous position aspects of this for the Protoss player as well. Protoss player not finding Krasio on the first attempt, Krasio also not finding them on the first attempt either, so both players going to be playing effectively blind for a while. And this time we're seeing, looks like it was 12 Nexus, I'm guessing, into 2 Gateway Cybernetics Core going to be double pumping Dragoons. This is much more standard, much more of a standard approach. And this is called Bunker Expand, or Bunker Factory Expand, I believe. For Terran, it's definitely a very standard human approach. Definitely something that you do see humans do. So 2 Zealots going to be coming out this time instead of the 1 Zealot early like last game. Slight adjustment by Purple Wave. Definitely a more economical build, but the trade-off is that, of course, the Zealots are still going to be dead to the first Vulture. First 2 Dragoons are out now, by the way. Compare that to the fact that there was only 1 Dragoon in time last time, and the Dragoons are going to be able to apply pressure here. If Purple Wave does take a dominant position in the third base, then of course what I said before is moot. It becomes very difficult for Terran to take a third base, but the thing to also consider is that Terran doesn't really need a third base for quite as early as Protoss does. Last game we saw that when the third base was taken quite late, and it was given up for free. Maybe this placement in between these two opponents in particular will make it more likely that Purple Wave will deny a third base. So it's interesting to think about that. We'll see how the game actually ends up turning out. We're seeing the Armory and Academy being added already, so very similar upgrade heavy build most likely from Krasio. And I'm actually okay. I was about to say I'm surprised that there's no production coming out of the factory. Constant tank production, I would say, is probably the #1 priority for a Terran, especially a Terran going for a low factory count upgrade heavy build. We're adding the comsat stations now, and looks like probes are already thinking about a third base. I would not advise taking this third base though. Um, so, because it's difficult to resupply your army through this bridge, and Terran can put a stranglehold on that just by taking over this area, that is why I don't suggest this third base for Protoss, and why I initially said that I believe that this third base placement and this rotational symmetry is advantageous for the Terran player. But with the entire army of Protoss here, you start to wonder if maybe it's going to be too difficult for Krasio to push out. However, let's see if Purple Wave starts hemorrhaging Dragoons again. Trying to apply pressure to the bunker, but what are you gaining here? Trying to bust in. The defense is too good from Krasio, and 4 Dragoons lost for maybe a couple SCVs and Vultures. The barracks going down would be a problem, but the barracks is going to fly away now. Ooh, it's close to being sniped. Is it going to burn down? Because that would force extra 150 minerals to be invested into a barracks in order to add more factories, and if factories are not produced in time, yeah, the barracks goes down. That means that no more extra Goliath was called. And yeah, new barracks. So this is actually a big difference from the last game. However, it should also be noted that the Terran is being a little bit more aggressive in terms of asserting its dominance over its natural base here than it was in the previous game. Purple Wave still long distance mining here, has taken a third base, is going to be trying to deflect Vulture pressure here, but the Dragoons are derping around. Not a lot of army up front here. And the barracks is still down though, so there is a better opening for this 3 Stargate carrier play, I think. So I think that that is the major difference between these two games that we just saw, the first game and the second game. Purple Wave fighting for their tournament life here. 1 game away from being eliminated in the losers finals here. And Krasio pushing more assertively than in the last game, and definitely way earlier, maybe somehow quote-unquote realizing the situation that they've been put into an disadvantageous position long term. Ooh, but the snipes on the carriers and the interceptors are just as good as before. This carrier is already close to going down. Yeah, moving out with so few carriers, maybe not the best play here. No army left for Purple Wave, and hemorrhaging units still continuously. Is Krasio going to be able to assertively push this position, take this third base behind it, and use this as a launching pad for an aggressive push towards the natural? Given the army composition of Purple Wave, I feel like it's plausible. I feel like there is some risk here, there is some danger, and there's actually a third base here placed from Krasio instead. So being able to secure 4 bases this way, and ooh, the addition of the Wraiths, I like that. Making up for the fact that there were no additional factories for a while, and there's actually only 3 factories here, keep that in mind. 3 factory production is outpowering the 6 gateway, 3 starport production from Purple Wave, so definitely very high unit efficiency from the Terran player here. Definitely something that the race is known for in StarCraft. Yeah, this push it's coming in hot. I mean, it's already arrived at the natural. This is exactly what I was talking about. Protoss cannot push back a push that is going through this bridge, whereas Terran can easily leapfrog with several tanks here and there until it finally gets to the other side of the bridge, and then it's in a very strong position here, right outside the natural of the Protoss base. And it seems that this might be the fatal position for Purple Wave. I mean, losing your natural here. I thought that this would be an advantage Purple Wave game after the snipe on the barracks, but again, I think it's just inefficiency and engagements that is really creating these openings for Krasio to push. Pushed with 2 factories, 1 starport against 3 Stargate, 6 gateways. It's incredible. There must be some very good AI behind the decision making of the army from Krasio in order to enact pushes of this nature. And of course, look at the siege tanks. They're going to be spread out behind the supporting army of Vultures and Goliaths. The Goliaths are sniping interceptors one by one. Slowly but surely, ground is being ceded to the Terran force. And it's just, I know that I shouldn't be calling it early, but I think that this is a Krasio 2-0. Very well played to Purple Wave. I'm going to be somewhat upset to not see a Protoss in the finals, but it is also a. I feel like there hasn't been that many finals without a Protoss in the AI scene in the past few years, so it is refreshing. It is great to see what is possibly the most famous of the 9 matchups, the TVZ, in the finals of the SSCAIT. And with we have our first and second seed facing off in the finals. First seed coming from losers bracket, so the potential of a double bracket, because it is double elimination, or I guess double bracket's not correct, but Series 1 and Series 2 of the finals is in the cards for us, and that is something that I think that everyone should be very excited about. I'm definitely looking forward to casting it with Nightcat tomorrow. I'm hoping that you guys are just as hyped as we are to broadcast it. So yeah, I think we'll see you there, and I think that it is over for Purple Wave now. Maybe the fact that there was 2 carriers over here trying to deal with this one Goliath has somehow contributed to this, but overall, fantastic play from Krazio. Purple Wave, better luck next time. I know that Purple Wave has been scheming some things that they might be able to do against Terran in this matchup, possibly maybe having been spoiled as to the results of this series somehow. I'm not sure, or maybe just of course self-diagnosing some lacking spots. Shuttle play definitely not as effective when there's a bunch of Goliaths out on the map. I'll just say that. And yeah, carrier decision making maybe needed to be improved a little bit as well. Carrier timing as well, waiting for that critical mass before engaging with it. Not hemorrhaging Dragoon HP and numbers early on for minimal gains. Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to talk about the last Protoss in the tournament as much as I can as a Protoss player. But I think it's done. We can go over to the bracket, take a look here. Krazio emerging victorious over Purple Wave 2-0. And now we have our finals determined. It's going to be... Wait, what happened? Okay, there we go. Monster vs. Krazio in the finals tomorrow, Sunday, May 5th. Why did I say May? It's March. March 5th. Sunday, March 5th. We'll see the number 2 seed Monster coming from the winner's bracket facing off against Krazio in a rematch of the semifinals. So Krazio would have to win both this series and the next series if it hopes to take home the title. Monster just needs to win. I believe it's a best of 5. Yeah, should be a best of 5. Just needs to win 3 games. I'm actually going to cheat. I'm going to double check. Ooh, it's a best of 7. Okay. Best of 7 for the finals. So possibly 2 best of 7 series tomorrow. Hope to see you there. Thank you for watching. Be safe, be happy, be healthy, and take care of yourselves. Thank you.